Right, back again. This is an update on the string spacer drama that I've got myself tangled up in. This is prototype number 2, I think. It's a single concertinaing row with pins going that way, and I'm not 100% happy with it because a bunch of reasons. The most important one is there's a sort of wobbling vibe going on when the bolts get a bit loose. So what I've done is I've made version 3. This one's just laser cut out of plastic on the laser cutters. I have parts for it, but they're still being polished, and that takes 2 days. Right, so what that one has is a kind of A-frame sort of thing, so you can control it with one hand. And the A shape makes the whole thing a lot more stable. And there are 2 rows of concertinaing parts. And what that means is that you can make the pointers a lot closer together. Because instead of coming off that one and that one and that one, they're coming off twice as many, basically. So that's where we're at with that. All of these joints are held together with a brass thing that I'm going to have made for me, I think, and stainless steel machine screws with holes going that way. I don't know if you can see that. No, you cannot. These little bolts have got holes going that way, so you can put that down flat on something and use it as a marker points. And what that means is there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like 8 different sets of points that can be used to divide up a length. And as well as that, the whole thing's designed to be like Meccano. So if you want, you can add extra bits here. So if you want to make a 7-string guitar or an 8-string guitar or a harp, you can. The thing that's been plaguing my mind for the last week or so is guitar nuts. More often than not, the slots aren't equally spaced. They are wider where the strings are wider, so the spaces between the strings is exactly the same, but the spaces from the centre of the strings is not. And that, in its native form, would not actually be able to measure that. However, it has occurred to me that I could make these holes so the holes are offset that way rather than being in the centre of each arm. And the amount of the distance from measuring a guitar nut is like from there to about there. I mean, what are they? Like, the narrowest ones are 35 millimeters, the widest 55. It's not, what's that, 2 centimeters? It's not very much. And I think what that means is that even though the ratios of these measure from the center rather than the edges of the strings, they are still going to be accurate enough over that distance. So what I did to prove that is I got the AI to write a program to generate equal from the edges string distances, which I'll put there. There's a picture of it there that you can see now. Link in the description. And what I managed to show from that is that even though this is all about measuring from the centers of the strings, if the holes are offset, the amount that they'll be out by is usually less than 0.1 of a millimeter, 0.1, 0.2 of a millimeter. So if you're doing something insane like having a nut like 5.5 centimeters wide, it'll be about 2.5 millimeters out. No, 0.24 millimeters out. It's absolutely tiny. So I worked out that for normal nuts, which are about 4 centimeters, 4.2, 4.5, whatever, within a centimeter of that, the lack of precision that you get from that, the amount that it'll be out by, is actually less than the amount that you would get if somebody just used a string gauge which wasn't designed for your nut. So if you made a nut for a 0.46 E string, for example, and some maniac turned up using 0.52, it'd be out by 0.2 of a millimeter or 0.1 of a millimeter, whatever it is. So the holes where they're offset, so that can actually accurately measure guitar nuts as they're supposed to be measured. I think it can do it. I mean, I think that's a possibility. And, for fuck's sake, if you're cutting these things by hand, you are not going to be able to measure 0.1 of a millimeter and file to an accuracy of 0.1 a minute by eye. That's the sort of thing machines have to do. Humans aren't set up for that, and these were built for humans. So there you go. It's possible, but what it's going to mean is that each of these pieces, so at the moment, this is made up of 3 different shapes, and if I offset all the holes to compensate for guitar string width, what it's going to mean is every single piece is going to be different, which means it's going to have to be, each piece is going to have to be individually marked to get them up the right way, and so on and so on. And the way these things are polished is I've got this sort of tumbler thing over there, and 200 of them all go in at the same time. They'll go for 2 days, and then I pull them out, and I'll have to sit there sorting the fucking things out. And I am far, far too lazy for that sort of thing. My patience was ever but a slender reed, believe you me. I think I've broken the end of this. So I'm not sure about all that work I did making, the online nut generator and finding out whether it's actually possible to do it. I'm not sure that I don't want just to keep quiet about it. Get somebody else to do it then. So I'm not sure about, I think it's doable, but if nobody actually asks me about that, then I think I might keep quiet about it. Except I've told everybody about it on YouTube now, so, so much for that. The hardest thing so far, believe it or not, is finding these pointer things. What I want is 10 centimetre long, 2 millimetre diameter, surgical steel spines, which are pointy at one end, and I'd actually quite like them threaded at that end as well, so I can put little buttons on, a bit like a hat pin. Maybe I could use hat pins. Do people still use hat pins? I think that they used to use them as weapons back in the days of Peaky Blinders and whatnot, didn't they? Hot stuff with a hat pin. Pink Floyd lyric. Maybe use hat pins. Yeah, I might have to look into that. The only thing I've found that comes close to those is blowgun darts. They're 1.3, but they're tempered steel, I mean, they're kind of, they'd be ideal, except if I suddenly start importing hundreds of thousands of blowgun darts, I'm probably going to wind up on some sort of list. Best avoided in these uncertain times. Yeah, so there you go.